Yeah.
And what I want to show is the Vox hype thing, this parallel vocal channel. This is one of the easiest things you can do to help your vocals cut through a really dense mix. Again, this song has a lot of synths, a lot of guitars, bass.
High frequency content.
Yeah, it's got to fight through a lot of stuff. So even though it sounds good by itself in the mix, sometimes it's getting lost. So what I did is I created in Pro Tools an auxiliary track where I'm using a pre-fader send, which means you can send a copy. I clicked pre-fader, full volume, of the vocal track. So it's going to take that nice vocal that we've EQ'd and compressed a bit, send a copy to this track that I called Vox Hype. So now I have, an independent copy of it.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket.
It's the same thing. You could literally copy the vocal in your DAW on a separate track. I do this because it's faster to me and I don't have to actually have double the audio tracks. I just run a copy of it.
Pre-fader sending would that would be post-insert in Pro Tools, correct?
Correct.
So the changes that you just made with those two plugins will be then copied over to this new aux track that you made.
Bingo. So it's going to flow SSL, whatever I'm doing here, the VMR, and then it hits this little send and bumps out a copy over here to my next track.
Cool.
If I don't have pre-fader engaged, if it's a post-fader send, the problem is if I mute the first vocal, it mutes
will also
it here.
mute that one.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Or if I change the volume of this vocal, it'll change the volume of the second one. I want them to be independent.
Sure.
Hence,
Because
that's
if
why
you have some
pre-fader.
compression on that aux track and you have it sent post-fader, if for whatever reason you have an automation ride or something and the fader comes down a little bit, that's affecting how the compressor is going to be listening to that vocal, right?
Correct. And all I want is literally if there was a separate copy that I can then, even with just the volume fader, I can adjust it however I want. So all I've done is made a copy. Nothing fancy here, but this is where I'll get it real crispy, real hyped. So This is getting crazy here. This is extreme everything.
Fun.
So let me see. Let me got this.
The technical term.
Yeah, it's extreme everything.
Nice.
So let me bring this fader up a little bit louder here so we can hear it. What I've got is basically 4 EQ boosts. It's
Oh my
insanity. Yeah, it'll hurt your ears a little bit too.
Might not sound pleasing by itself,
No.
but this is a parallel process track, right?
Yeah, and this is the beauty of parallel processing is you can do extreme stuff on the parallel track to overdo what it is you're looking for. In my case, I wanted more breathiness and top end. So I'm going to go overboard here, and then I'm going to blend it in with the original. So the first thing I'm doing is, here's that custom series EQ. I've rolled off a lot of low end, a high pass filter up to 360, and I've boosted 5 dB of this 15K shelf. This is just like a thin it out and make it bright. You can hear what this does.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet.
Okay, thinner and a little breathier. Followed it with this other EQ he's got called the Custom Series Lift. Again, it doesn't matter what you're using. This one's kind of cool because it does an EQ boost in parallel. It has a silky button, so I wanted more silkiness. So I turned that on.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet.
Right, even more crispy.
I can start to hear some of the breathy textures.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, granted, it's also an exaggeration, but I'm hearing that quality, and I'm excited to hear how it might sound blended back in. And you're not even done yet.
No, I got 2 more for you. Oh, yeah. Because I'm a crazy person. Now I've got Revival again, adding a lot of that shimmer, so adding some harmonics. These first 2 were just EQ boosts, boosting what is there.
Right.
Now I'm going to add some top end with harmonics, so take out, listen to this.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet.
So now I'm adding more crispiness. And then this is another one that Stephen has. I never played with it. It's the Air EQ from Fabrice Gabriel. And he's got this EQ boost that he calls the Air, and it just sounds really, really airy. So I was like, why not add that to the mix? So this is just more EQ.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet.
Sorry, it makes me shiver like too much. And then I'm adding a lot of gain, so obviously I've got an output knob here to trim it down by 12 dB to make it quieter. So I'm going to press play with all of it engaged, and I'll bypass it so you can hear back to where we were on the original vocal.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet to live the life I've always wanted.
So all I've done now is created this crispy, hyped, breathy channel that's all on this green track here, the Vox hype track. That now what I want to do, I like to pull the fader all the way down and bring it up slowly alongside the real vocal, because the real vocal is still going to be the main track. And what's so cool about this parallel processing is just a little bit of this hyped track next to the original one. It gives you that breathiness, gives you that clarity without having to like sacrifice the natural dynamic musical vocal. So I'm going to press play from the beginning, and I'm going to basically bring this fader up a little bit so you hear it, and then mute the Vox hype and bring it in and out, and you're going to hear what it's doing. And as the song builds, you're going to hear how it helps out the song.
Sure.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet to live the life I've always wanted. Young kid in a city of wonders. Thought I knew, but I didn't know nothing. No life awaits me, here I go. Here I go. Far away from the shadows to a place where I belong.
I hear a life just
Right.
whenever it's brought in, and maybe that's just the breathy texture, the breathy quality, but I mean, just visually looking at the relationship between the faders, you're only bringing that that hype track up, what, negative 30 decibels, something like that?
Yeah, and I think it might be at negative 20
Yeah.
at the most. And if you solo it out, you can hear it's not adding too much gain.
I left home with some dreams in my pocket. Left alone with no money in my wallet to live the life I've always wanted.